Hello chess friends, and welcome to your side of chess channel, and welcome to a spectacular tournament that started today. Welcome to the US Chess Championship in 2022. So this is now a remarkable event in which we'll see 14 top grandmasters battling it out in a one-round robin. And the cool part is that there's, again, we'll see over the board chess, which is classical time format chess, and you can get, of course, some rating points, but you can, of course, also some rating points in this beautiful chess event. So among many great players, we'll see also the most controversial person in this tournament. We'll see also Hans Niemann playing in the US Chess Championship this year, and I'm a little bit sad that Hikaru Nakamura is not playing because I think it would be quite a spectacular game between Hikaru Nakamura and Hans Niemann. I think the internet would collapse in the game between the two of them. I would really love to see them battling it out over the board, but we'll still see many respected grandmasters like Levan Aronia and Fabiano Caruana is also here. So still this will be a very strong tournament, but in my opinion, if Hikaru would have played, he would be probably the top favorite even to win the whole thing. But okay, we're starting now the round one already with a spectacular game between Christopher Yoo and Hans Niemann. And we know in 2020 they played already a game which was very suspicious and by the chat community that maybe Hans Niemann cheated in the game against Christopher Yoo with the black pieces in 2022. And I've analyzed also the game. You can also check it out, and if you haven't followed, there was also this chess.com statement about Hans Niemann's play on internet on chess.com where they stated that Hans Niemann probably cheated over more than 100 games in his chess career, online chess. I'm not saying over the board chess, but in my opinion, there is this investigation about this whole chess drama about Hans Niemann's over the board performance, and in my opinion, probably they will not investigate so much. I'm not sure how they can prove that Hans Niemann cheated, although we don't know if he did cheat or he did not cheat. In my opinion, we have to settle in the near future. Probably this drama will be over with a statement that Hans Niemann did not cheat, or at least they cannot prove that he cheated, and actually this whole thing will be over. Hans Niemann will probably not play on chess.com anymore, but he'll probably continue his over the board career. And there is an expression that we use here in Croatia. We say the hills shook and the mouse was born. I hope you understand what this quote means. It means basically that many things have been said. The hills really shook. This was a huge thing, but actually the outcome is that the mouse was born. So nothing spectacular, nothing dramatical. As I said, Hans Niemann will probably continue to play over the board and will probably not continue to play on chess.com. So this will be the potential outcome. In my opinion, this is the most likely situation that we'll have now in the future. But okay, as I said, this is a matter for some other entities. We'll just continue now to follow the chess today. As I said, Christopher Yoo again against Hans Niemann. As I said, they already played in 2022 this very controversial game. So let's see now the game. Christopher Yoo played with the white pieces and Hans Niemann with the black pieces. So here we have d4 by Christopher Yoo, knight to f6 by Hans Niemann. We have knight to c3. After d5, bishop to f4, we have the so-called rapport-Yobava system. And many times this rapport-Yobava system, if you try to play maybe some ideas of g6, then you can go after move knight to f3 into some berry attack styles, which is also a thing that I like to play myself. I've created this series about the berry attack. You can also check it out if you want to maybe use the rapport-Yobava system and set up against the King's Indian structure. You can use the berry attack, but here Hans Niemann played into a more solid line. He's not going into King's Indian structures. He's going into maybe Queen's Indian structures, maybe with e6, then b6 and similar stuff. So in the continuation, we have now knight to b5, and you see this pawn on c7 is already hanging. You have to make something out of this, so that's why the move knight to a6 is really necessary in the continuation. So we have now e3 here. Christopher Yoo is continuing normal development, and now bishop to e7. Here Hans Niemann is also preparing kingside castling. Knight to f3, kingside castling, and now bishop to e2. Here play by Christopher Yoo. You can also play h3. playing into a more sort of London system style. At least this bishop cannot be attacked here by the knight. If that happens, then you still have the flexibility to move the bishop here at least to h2 and prevent this potential attack by the knight. But here, after move bishop to e2, Christopher Yoo played on this other idea. He tried now to develop further. He tried also now to secure the king by castling, and now Hans Niemann uses this moment and plays now knight to h5, immediately attacking now the bishop on bishop and e4, bishop and f4. So now what you could do is, of course, to play bishop to e5 like Christopher Yoo did, or you can of course play bishop to g3. But in the near future we can expect, if you move the knight to d2 or something, that knight takes g3 will happen, and then still black is continuing then the game with a bishop pair. So after move knight to h5, here we have bishop to e5 by Christopher Yoo. So he's trying still to stay with his bishop in the game. So that's why now f6 by Hans Niemann, and here we have bishop to g3. Basically the bishop is trapped. It's not trapped, but actually whenever black wants now to trade off the knight for a bishop, black can do that because the bishop doesn't have any more good squares. So of course black doesn't have to take immediately this bishop. Black can play several things, but in my opinion this is a good choice by Hans Niemann to go into this particular line, because in the Yobava London system and in some other London system, this dark square bishop is really a provocative piece. It's a piece that you don't want to tolerate, of course, in the continuation of the game. So we have now c6, kicking away the knight to c3, and now c5. This is an interesting choice by Hans Niemann. He played already once with the pawn, kicked away the knight, and is breaking now the position with the move c5. But this move c5 makes really sense, because you want to play further on this queen side. You're trying maybe some ideas of b5 if possible. Of course, so far it's not possible, but you're b5, b4, c4 and similar stuff. You're trying to get an expansion here on the queen side. So now there are basically three things that you can do. You can of course play kingside castling. You can also take out the knight, and you can, I think, play the best move, bishop to h4. Here it was simply time now for Christopher Yoo, in my opinion. Really, when it comes to opening preparation, maybe Christopher Yoo made a slight inaccuracy. He should have played here bishop to h4. This was maybe his chance to stay with the dark square bishop in the game. Now after move bishop to h4, you see g5 in order to kick away the bishop again is not so good, because we can counterattack here with the move g4. And okay, for instance, if you retreat to g7, we'll just play bishop to g3, and still we are staying now with the dark square bishop on the board. We can then afterwards also launch a flank attack with h4 and similar stuff. Look at this, the h file could be open in the near future, so it will be very dangerous. Let's go back. So maybe you can also take out the bishop in this position, but we'll also take out the knight. Then you play maybe queen to b6, attacking the pawn on b2. This is now maybe even the suggested move by top engines. And now you just continue here with queen to d2. You even can allow here black to take a pawn, but now we just kick away the queen. And look at this, now the g file is open. We can still play a rook to b3, kicking away the queen. You can also play here, look at this, e4, opening the position. So first we play rook to b3, then queen to h6. So I would not really love to play now anymore this game from black's perspective. So see, this was really a time to play now the move bishop to h4. At least you would stay with the bishop further in the game. g5, you see, is not an option here for black. So here after move knight to c3 and c5, Christopher Yoo castled kingside here, and that was, I think, a slightly inaccurate move. From this point on, actually black is taking over. Bishop to a6, if you're asking yourself the question, if this is good, actually it seems tempting, but it's also not so good. I think after b takes a6, you could maybe take bishop to c5, but look at this, after kingside castling, we can play bishop to b7, maybe something like queen to e7, rook to e8, rook to d8. I think you can regroup, and then you just start to push the pawns in the center of the board with the support of both of these bishops here, with this powerful knight here that could again be traded off for the bishop on g3. I think the central pawn storm that black is here will simply cause white the game. So that's why here Christopher Yoo played maybe a solid move, kingside castling, although as we said, he should have played bishop to h4. So in the continuation, we have knight takes g3 by Hans Niemann. He is getting rid of this bishop, h takes g3, and he locked now the position on the queen side with the move c4. Okay, this doesn't have to be played. Of course, you can even try knight to c7, you can even try b6, but Hans Niemann played here aggressively. He pushed the pawn on the other side of the board and basically locked here white a little bit, because we have to notice after move c4 the position is really cramped here for white. White doesn't have so many spaces now with the minor pieces. So in the continuation, e4. So here Christopher Yoo is trying to liberate himself with a normal breakthrough motif. We have bishop to b4, and after e takes d5, now really the fun starts, because here Hans Niemann played e takes d5. It's the correct choice. Look at this. What happens, for instance, if you try maybe to double up the pawn structure with the move bishop to c3, this would be quite a spectacular game, because actually here in this scenario, white doesn't have to even take out the bishop on c3. White can continue with this line. Here d takes e6, and now you have to, of course, first play bishop to b2. But look at this now, bishop to c4 with the threat to play e7, and basically there are two choices. You can play queen to e7 or king to h8. If you play queen to e7, then we have this one, rook to b1, attacking now the bishop. Now you get the queen into the game. Look at this, how dangerous this attack could be. Now you have to play something like bishop to d6, but now look at this, knight to h4 with the preparation to play knight to f5. For instance, you can play here knight to b4, trying to kick away the queen. Here white can even sacrifice. This is really wild what could have happened. This wasn't played in the game, but this is really spectacular. Look at this now with knight to f5. Here white could have really a dominant game. So let's go back. Maybe in this scenario, after move here bishop to c4, if you try to escape with the king here on h8, look at this, even this can happen again. Rook to b1, you're retreating, and then again queen to d3. Maybe you can try even here bishop to e7, but now look at this, bishop takes a6, b takes a6, and now with queen to e4, actually also the rook could be trapped here on ax. So really this is already spiced up game, as I said. But here after move e takes d5, here e takes d5, the correct choice by Hans Niemann. He didn't take out the knight on c3, which would be very tempting. I think many of us would play already this mistake in the game. So in the continuation, after e takes d5, we have knight to b1. Finally, Christopher Yoo is trying c3, kicking away the bishop, and then to include the knight somehow into the game. So here the continuation, knight to c7. Hans Niemann is trying to get better squares for the knight. We have c3, we have bishop to d6, and now knight to d2. So now b5, and this is crucial here. This is very good what Hans is doing here. He's trying a5, b4, and similar stuff. He's trying now to get an expansion on the queen side. His bishop pair is perfectly fine here, I think. Notice that both of these pawns, the pawn on d5 and also the pawn on f6, are taking very important center squares for the knight. So white would love somehow to maneuver the knight and maybe get the knight on e5, maybe get the knight on e4, but actually it's not working, because so far Hans Niemann played very nice restrictions here with this centralized pawn. So he has now basically the flexibility. Actually, black is much better in my opinion here. Black has even the flexibility to attack the queen side, and also has the flexibility to attack the king side. I think black can even push here the pawns on the king side. So it's now a double attack sort of by black. In my opinion, white is now only on the passive side. So here the continuation, knight to e1, bishop to e6. We have knight to c2. You see Christopher Yoo is trying to get some kind of an activity. He's trying to get some squares in the position. We have queen to d7, a rook to e1, and now here Hans Niemann is continuing the pressure on the queen side with the move a5. So we have a3 preventing b4, and here we have g6. This is now a beautiful move by Hans Niemann, because as I said, he has the flexibility to even attack both sides. How powerful now his position is, especially with this beautiful bishop pair. He's now trying to launch a flank attack even here with the move h5. So we have knight to f1. So Christopher Yoo has really a tough time to find the best square for the pieces. We have now h5 by Hans Niemann. We have queen to d2, trying to sneak in with the queen here maybe on h6. So that's why king to g7 now by Hans Niemann. So we have now f4, trying to get some kind of a compact position, and trying maybe to play some kind of idea, maybe knight to e3, rook to f1, and maybe f5 seems tempting. At least you're trying somehow to break the position here on the king side. But here rook to h8. Hans Niemann is continuing simply with his plan. We have bishop to f3, and now f5 here by Hans Niemann. And that's what maybe Hans mistake, his maybe first mistake in the game. I like here more maybe this choice to simply include more pieces into the game. You have to now, I think, include also this other rook into the game, because after rook to e2 you just continue with bishop to g4. Look at this, bishop to g4, h takes g4. Now the h file is open, and now if the king maybe marched here to f2, notice that rook to f8 would be very dangerous because you already placed the rook there, and if something gets cleared, then of course also the king could be very dangerous. So that's why maybe rook to f8 slightly more accurate, but here f5 was played by Hans Niemann. But notice after move f5 he locked a little bit his bishop out, and he leaves now also a little bit the e5 square unprotected. So okay, this was his choice. Let's see now what happened. So rook to e2, we have knight to e8, we have a rook to e1, and of course here bishop to f7, getting out of this mess. Now Hans Niemann is also trying some ideas of knight to f6, knight to e4, cementing position in the center of the board. So now rook to e5. So see, this position by Christopher Yoo is so weak that actually he has to make something out of this, because the spaces that black gained here on the queen side but also on the king side are simply too much to handle. In the near future h5 will happen for sure, so that's why rook to e5, trying to at least keep the position somehow compact in the center. Because okay, let's see, you play something like bishop to e5, d takes e5. At least in this scenario I think white could have maybe a solid game. Knight to d4 can happen. You can use maybe this square in order to keep the position in the center compact. Then of course also e6 is a beautiful idea. Then also the d5 is weak. Maybe we can continue with knight to e3. So good choice, I think, by Christopher Yoo. But Hans Niemann is saying, okay, you're placing your rook there, I will take it when I want to take it. Now it's not time to take it, we have to play first some complications. So that's why I left here Hans' choice. He played knight to f6 with the idea, of course, to play knight to e4, and he's saying, I will take it, the rook, as I said, when I simply decide to take a rook, not when you are offering the rook. So it's a different story when you take the piece. So in the continuation we have now knight to e3, h4, simply continue with the plan. And now after move queen to f2, here Hans Niemann has a brilliant position, but he plays now really mistake that could have, I think, cost him the game. He played here the move h3, and this was not the way to go. This was not good. What he should have played is now simply knight to h5, and this is a must move in order to keep the pressure in the game, because now after bishop to h5 you have this Zwischenzug, this intermediate move. You have h takes g3, queen takes g3, and now you just include this rook into the game. In the near future you can of course include this other rook into the game, and then when the time is right, then you take out the rook on e5. That's now the most important thing. But at least in this scenario, as we said, at least here the h file would be open. Knight to f5 is not possible, because still you have a great protection of that square. Both pieces, the rook and the queen, are protecting this very important square. Unfortunately here Hans Niemann missed this move. He played h3, continued now the pressure here on the king side, and here Christopher Yoo suddenly doesn't react correctly, where he could have maybe taken over. He played now again a new mistake. The correct move actually here is to play g takes h3. After rook to h3 there is now a stunning tactic that Christopher Yoo, unfortunately for him, missed. Now he should have played this line. Look at this, after rook to h3 there is really a beautiful liberating line, knight takes d5, and knight takes d5 is really beautiful because if you try now for instance knight to d5, then we have bishop to d5, and we have simply just grab the pawn, and also notice that the rook is hanging. So after move knight to d5, what you could do is to play maybe bishop to e5, but this would be a mistake, because again knight to f6 comes, bishop to f6 again, here the rook is hanging. So after move this one, you could maybe try after move knight to d5. What you could do is of course knight to g4. You could maybe try to attack the queen, but actually again white would have a beautiful intermediate attack, the fork against the queen and the rook. Now you can of course take out the queen, but white can also take out the queen on d7. You can also take out here this one, which simply take it out, and now with rook to b5 white is getting out of this mess. Notice, okay, it's it's a 2 knights versus 2 bishops endgame, but look at this pawn is weak, this pawn is also weak. Okay, rook to g3 is going to happen, but in the near future you can also cement your knight again here on e5, so it should be the drawish position. Unfortunately, as I said, Christopher Yoo played rook to e2. He didn't play g takes h3. He didn't allow here the scenarios here after this one. Now rook to d8 played by Hans Niemann. He's finally noticing that he could have some problems around the square d5, and notice also he could have some problems if the rook stays on a8, so that's why he got out of this mess and played now a rook to d8. So here queen to e1, we have knight to e4, beautiful square for, of course, for the knight, g4, and now bishop to e5 here by Hans Niemann, although he should have simply proceeded with h takes g2. h takes g2 is here much better. Again, as I said, you don't have to rush to take out here the bishop in the center, or the rook in the center of the board. You can do it whenever you want to play that. Now after rook takes g2, we just continue here the pressure, rook to h3. This other rook is coming into the game, so this should be again much better here for black. But okay, he took now finally the rook. We have now d takes e5 again with this idea to play knight to d4, at least somehow centralizing the knight. In the continuation we have h takes g2, rook takes g2, and now after rook to h3 here Hans Niemann is getting actively with the piece into the game. And now comes again a crucial mistake in the game here. Christopher Yoo played wild move e6, and here you have to play here, I think, bishop to e4, getting rid of the centralized knight. After d takes e4, again you're playing this kind of stuff. Okay, you're down the exchange, maybe this was an idea. You see still g takes f5 comes as a threat, so this was maybe the way to go for Christopher Yoo, maybe to simplify the game, but he played the risky move e6, what he was hoping for after bishop to e6 and here g takes f5, that he could maybe open the f file, pardon me, the g file, but here after bishop to f5, Hans Niemann has still a great protection of the f5 square, so this is not working. In the continuation we have knight to f5, we have queen to f5, we have bishop knight to d4 attacking now the queen to f6, and he tried now to somehow play this move f5. He basically got rid of any piece that could control the f5 square. Look at this after this one, bishop to e4. Here Hans Niemann played a beautiful counter attack, rook to e8. He stays now very active with his pieces. Okay, now f5 happened. We have first rook to e4. This is pretty much forced, everything is forced here, so this is now really a must tactical sequence for both sides. Rook to e4. Okay, the queen steps back here, but now rook to h4 is a beautiful tactical shot by Hans Niemann. He allows basically this move, rook takes g6. We have queen takes g6, f takes g6, but now rook to h1 is simply winning the game, because you get this tactics. You have to step back with the king on the third rank, but now we have the opportunity to take the queen on f2, king takes f2, and now the rook gets lined up on the second rank, and now the pawn is hanging. This pawn is weak, so this is now completely winning endgame here for black. So rook takes b2 was played, king to f4. Here Hans Niemann took. Okay, the king got centralized, but now the correct move here by Hans b4. We have a takes b4, a takes b4, c takes b4, and now c3. We have here now b5, and now a beautiful tactical shot. Rook takes b5 by Hans Niemann, knight takes b5, and after c2 in this position, Christopher Yoo resigned. There's no way anymore to stop this pawn from a potential promotion, so it's game over here for white. So spectacular game it was for sure. Interesting ideas of the Yobava system. I have to also say a little bit in Hans Niemann's maybe defense, sort of. Hans Niemann, I think, created also the series about the Yobava London system himself. He has this course, so I think he's quite familiar with these ideas that are going on in the game in the Yobava London system. He played really the opening in a good way. He I think was very familiar with the common strategies and also with the common tactical shots. He didn't fall for this idea in the to take out maybe the knight on c3. So in my opinion, really an interesting game, also maybe a game worth to study. Christopher Yoo also played in an interesting way. He had some chances maybe to even take over. He missed them. He was, I think, too scared about this H-file attack. He should have just maybe protected somehow, played more active in the middle game stage. Maybe he could have even had chances to win the game against Hans Niemann. But okay, so far a good game for sure. Hans is of course now taking the lead in the tournament because he and also another player also won their games in the day one. Good win of course for him with the black pieces. We'll see, as I said, what will happen with his career. Maybe the investigation will be over and we'll say that Hans Niemann cheated over the board. We'll see what will happen. As I said, we cannot rush into this stuff. FIDE will make soon an official statement, and we're looking forward to watch more of course of Hans Niemann's continuations and also of his games for sure. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the Yobava system for sure. If you want to see more Hans Niemann games and also some other commented chess games, check out our series, the commented chess games, here on my YouTube chess channel. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.